Thank you, Reverend. The House will come to order. Please join Representative Doherty in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Mr. Shebel, please call the roll.
Representatives Amabile, Bacon. Representative Bacon's excused. Baisley, Benavidez, Burnett. Rep. Burnett is excused. Byrd, Bockenfeld, Basenecker, Bradfield, Caraveo, Carver, Catlin, Cutter, Doherty, Duran, Esgar, Exum, Froelich. Representative Froelich is excused. Geithner. Oh, she's here. Geithner. Rep. Geithner is excused. Gonzalez Gutierrez. Gray. Representative Gray is excused. Hanks. Herod. Holtorf. Putin. Rep. Putin's excused. Judah. Kennedy. Kip. Larson. Lindsay. Lontine. Luck. Representative Luck is excused. Lynch. McCluskey. McCormick. McKean. McLaughlin. Michelson Janae. Mullica. Neville. Ortiz.
Here.
Pelton. Pico. Ransom. Rich. Ricks. Representative Ricks is excused. Roberts. Sandridge. Sirota. Oh, she's excused. Rep. Sirota's excused. Snyder. Soper. Rep. Soper's excused. Sullivan. Tipper. Titone. Valdez. No. Rep. Valdez A is excused. Valdez D. Van Beber. Yep. She's here? Oh. Van Winkle.
Here.
Weissman. Will. Williams.
Here.
Woodrow.
Here.
He's not here, is he? Representative Woodrow's excused. Woog. Young. Mr. Speaker.
Woodrow's on the wall.
Thank you, Rep. Ortiz. Mr. Shebel.
We gotcha.
With 57 present, 8 excused, we barely have a quorum. Representative Doherty.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Journal of Friday, March 25th, 2022 be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
Thank you, Representative Doherty. Members, you have heard the motion that the journal be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is approved. Announcements and introductions. Representative Snyder and Representative Rich.
Morning, everybody. You might notice you have these wonderful, yet again, coffee mug on your desks from 211. And the 211 Colorado Collaborative, run by Mile High United Way and the other United Ways, is a wonderful program. It gets resources, referrals, and hope for Coloradans in need of food, shelter, housing, childcare, mental health services, and so much more. And there actually is some legislation coming your way to make this a sustainable, statewide, border-to-border program. So thank you very much.
Thank you to both of you. Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, if it's Monday, it's Finance, and we will be meeting today at 1:30 in our usual committee room of 112 down in the basement. Today, we will be hearing the following bills: Senate Bill 22006, House Bill 1299, House Bill 1263, House Bill 1305, House Bill 1163 will be laid over for 1 week at the request of the sponsor. Thanks.
Further announcements and introductions. Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, Agriculture, Livestock, and Water Committee will meet at 1:30 in room 107. See you there.
Representative Herod.
This is something else, yeah. Good morning, members. We do have appropriations tomorrow on the calendar. We will be meeting at 8 o'clock to go over the supplemental orbital bills. We are the committee of reference. Representative McCluskey, Madam JBC Chair, I do expect you to hold down the jokes tomorrow. I think you've got like 15 bills, so. If you want to hear Representative McCluskey and all of her favorite jokes, do tune in. It's going to be enlightening. Thanks.
Further announcements and introductions. Seeing none, Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to proceed out of order for the immediate consideration of Senate Joint Resolution 7.
Seeing no objection, we will proceed out of order for immediate consideration of Senate Joint Resolution 7. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to Senate Joint Resolution 7.
Senate Joint Resolution 7 concerning designating March as Triple Negative Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Representative Herod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move Senate Bill Joint Resolution 7, and I ask that it be read at length.
Mr. Schiebel.
Whereas breast cancer is among the most commonly diagnosed cancers and the second leading cause of cancer death among women in the United States. And whereas approximately 281,550 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer and an estimated 43,250 of those women will die with breast cancer in 2022. And whereas triple negative breast cancer or TNBC is one of the many forms of breast cancer and accounts for about 15 to 30% of all diagnosed invasive breast cancer cases in the United States. And whereas the term triple negative breast cancer refers to the fact that these cancer cells lack estrogen receptors, progesterone receptors, and HER2, which are three key receptors that medicines typically target in other types of breast cancers, leaving limited treatment options for TNBC. And whereas across the United States, Black, Hispanic, and younger women are disproportionately impacted by TNBC. And despite the development of policies to support breast cancer patients, recognition of the specific effects of health disparities and inequities among TNBC patients and actions to mitigate the disparities and inequities are limited. And whereas the odds of Black women being diagnosed with TNBC are twice as high as those of non-Hispanic white women in the United States. And similarly, Hispanic women are more likely to be diagnosed with TNBC than their non-Hispanic white peers. And whereas studies have shown that TNBC disease-specific mortality rates are often higher if patients have Medicaid or Medicare or are low in socioeconomic status, and compared with non-Hispanic white women, Black women are 48% less likely to receive guideline-adherent care and have approximately a twofold higher mortality incidence, resulting in a disproportionately higher risk of death from TNBC. And whereas advances in breast cancer screening and treatment over the last few decades have reduced the overall breast cancer mortality rate, yet the ongoing disproportionate impact of TNBC on racial and ethnic minority communities raises concerns regarding the underlying determinants driving these disparities. And whereas it is necessary to promote triple-negative breast cancer education, raise awareness about disease-related disparities, and tackle inequities within healthcare, such as inadequate access to screening, diagnostic testing, and care, in order to improve early detection and survival. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the 73rd General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, that the General Assembly acknowledges March as Triple-Negative Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Representative Herod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, you can be seated. Members, 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime, if you'd like. This is a statistic you may have heard before, especially during Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October. But our work to educate Coloradans about breast cancer can't be limited to just 1 month, because 1 in 8 does not begin to describe the risk that is posed by an aggressive subtype of breast cancer called triple-negative breast cancer. This breast cancer disproportionately strikes young women, especially young women of color. It is more aggressive, it is harder to treat, and it's more likely to be diagnosed at a late stage than other breast cancers. We desperately need to raise awareness about the unique risks posed by TNBC and the alarming disparities in screening and diagnosis for TNBC among populations most vulnerable to this disease. That's why I'm proud to celebrate March as Triple-Negative Breast Cancer Awareness Month in Colorado. And I've got to say, before I was brought this resolution, I did not know, and I am at increased risk for this specific type of breast cancer. And so I also urge folks to get their screenings. I know we are busy, ladies and men, but it is time. We must prioritize getting our screenings so that we can do everything that we can to get diagnosed and to have this detected early. And if we believe that we need to have further testing, we need to be our advocates and make sure that that happens.
Representative Caraveo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I completely agree with my co-prime on this, on how important early screening is. This is personal for me because of lack of early screening and the fact that women of color are at a higher risk of this kind of breast cancer and breast cancer overall. I'm actually this year realized that I'm only a year younger than my aunt was when she died of breast cancer. We've all been impacted by this disease, and we all have the story of a mother, a sister, a friend, or an aunt who has bravely battled a breast cancer diagnosis. Yet it's important to acknowledge that this burden falls disproportionately on women of color. So it is critical that we work together to raise awareness about TNBC during Triple-Negative Breast Cancer Awareness Month this March and all year long. I call on my colleagues in the House of Representatives today to support TNBC Awareness Month and join me in taking action to expand access to care for this disease, reduce health disparities, and improve outcomes for the young women of color who are most likely to face this diagnosis. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to point out, as a white woman of privilege, this is so important. This last fall, I was fortunate enough to have a regular mammogram. I've had them every single year. I've been fortunate enough to have that ability to do that. And they discovered some unusual cells. And I was able to get those cells. I had a lumpectomy, and my prognosis is fantastic right now. But I know that I stand in an area of privilege, and we just need to make sure that everybody else has the same privilege that I had.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Joint Resolution 7? Seeing none, is there? Oh, Representative Van Bember.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to thank the joint resolution sponsors for bringing this forward. As my sister is a triple negative breast cancer survivor now for the last 7 years, I appreciate the awareness. As a survivor myself of breast cancer last summer, all awareness that we can provide for this topic is something that we should be providing for women throughout the state of Colorado, and as Representative Herod so astutely put, men as well. The state of Colorado does provide opportunities for all women in the state of Colorado to have mammograms, so I implore you, ladies in the chamber, make sure you're making those appointments this year. Thank you for bringing this resolution forward.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before, is there objection to a voice vote? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 7. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Joint Resolution 7 is passed. Representative Herod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the morning roll call be added as co-sponsors.
The motion is to add this morning's roll call as co-sponsors. Seeing no objection, the morning roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Majority lead. Say that again. I think we moved out of announcements and introductions. Majority Leader Esker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to lay over third reading of bills until tomorrow, March 29th.
Seeing no objection, third reading of bills will be laid over one day until Tuesday, March 29th. Majority Leader Esker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the following bills be made special orders at 10:18 today, March 28th. Senate Bill 141, Senate Bill 142, House Bill 1280, Senate Bill 137, House Bill 1300, House Bill 1294.
Seeing no objection, the bills laid out by the Majority Leader will be made special orders on Monday, March 28th at 10:18 a.m. Representative Lindsay. Thank you. Members, you have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, Representative Lindsay will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there is request for reading a bill at length. Committee reports are printed and in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads. Bills will be laid over upon motion of the Majority Leader, and the coat roll is relaxed. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of SB 141.
Senate Bill 141 by Senators Moreno and Kirkmeyer, also Representatives Lynch and Valdez D, concerning making non-substantive changes to Title 43.
Representative D. Valdez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and it's an honor to serve with you.
And with you.
Madam Chair, I move Senate Bill 141, and there's no committee report.
To the bill.
Members, this is a good bill. Not only as comes out of a statutory advisory committee, but also we continue to make several technical changes to Title 43, to the National Environment Policy Act, to the Federal National Environmental Policy Act of 1969, and the bill references the motor registration to motor vehicle registration. And I'll let my colleague, Representative Lynch, continue.
Representative Lynch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not a lot to this one. We're changing just some wording in this. No substantive changes to Title 43. It's a good bill. Vote yes.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 141. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 141 passes. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to Senate Bill 142.
Senate Bill 142 by Senators Woodward and Zenzinger, also Representatives Pico and Lynch, concerning the repeal of the Municipal Bond Supervision Advisory Board.
Representative Lynch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 22-142.
To the bill.
This is another one of those highly sophisticated pieces of legislation that I have the honor to be a part of. And this is basically just, it's repealing the Municipal Bond Supervision Advisory Board. They did their job, we took their recommendations, and we're ready to move on without them.
Representative Pico.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a good bill. It streamlines government. It eliminates a board that has not met for years. This is something that makes sense and something that I believe that we can all bond together with.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Gray.
Can't help yourself.
I mean, thank you, Madam Chair. What's important to note is that people who work with municipal bonds are just cool. They're just cool people. Everybody loves them. They're very popular at parties and that sort of thing. Notwithstanding that, I think we could move forward with this bill. I urge you to vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 142. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 142 passes. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1280.
House Bill 1280 by Representatives Snyder and Exum, also Senators Lundin and Lee, concerning changing the name of Pikes Peak Community College to Pikes Peak State College.
Representative Exum.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1280, and there's no committee report.
To the bill. Representative Snyder.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I say just it's an extreme pleasure serving with you.
Oh, you too. Thank you.
Thank you. Morning, members. So House Bill 1280 is probably one of the simplest bills you'll ever see, basically changing one name, one word in the name from Pikes Peak Community College to Pikes Peak State College. But I wanted to let you know, we have a long history in this state of doing this. About 30 institutions have changed their names over the year. Starting in 1870 with Colorado Ag College, which is now Colorado State University. So this is just one bill in a long line of colleges and universities changing their names to fit the times.
Representative Exum.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And along with there shouldn't be any stigma about community colleges or graduating from community college, yet there still is such a stigma. And one thing these colleges can do is distance themselves from that false stigma to change their own name. And there's no physical note to this bill. A lot of sponsors in the business community, also the mayor of Colorado Springs, are in favor of this, and so we'd ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
Representative Snyder.
Just one final point. This is really important, they believe, to the recruitment of new students. And, you know, community colleges serve so many people, 130,000 people in the state of Colorado. Pikes Peak State College does an exceptionally good job. So this is something that came from our community from the ground up, and we do ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1280. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1280 passes. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of SB 137.
Senate Bill 137 by Senators Zenzinger and Quorum, also Representatives McLaughlin and Young, concerning measures related to the transitional return to standard education accountability.
Representative McLaughlin.
Thank you. I'd like to move Senate Bill 22-137 to second reading.
To the bill.
So for the last 2 years, we have paused our state accountability system. For education, through both COVID and the bill we ran last year, resulting in low student participation with the CMAS tests. The data gained was not accurate because the testing pool was too small. This year, we want to have an accurate and thoughtful return to standardized testing so we can get back to business. But instead of jumping back into a traditional year of testing and accountability, we will provide a pathway that honors the tradition of quality assessments, reflecting advancements made that are not subject to the inaccuracies found during the pandemic.
Representative Young.
It's a pleasure to serve with you.
It's a pleasure to serve with you.
This bill directs that in order to align with the direction determined by the State Board of Education with a unanimous resolution that schools and districts will not advance on the accountability framework in 22-23. The bill suspends counting a school district's accreditation rating until the 23-24 school year. The department is required to count the school district's accreditation 22-23 rating as if it were successive to the 2019-20 school year. One of the great things about this is it allows districts who have been making progress during the pandemic, who are on the accountability clock, to submit local data and the request for reconsideration process to show they have made improvement and progress during this 2-year pause. This bill also needs to include data concerning percentages of students who have contributed to the state longitudinal academic growth. We know that there had been a lower participation in the last few years, and we're hoping for increased participation this year. This bill also extends the availability of school transformation grants for the 22-23 school year to school districts on an improvement plan. Previously, you had to be on a priority improvement plan or lower to be eligible for these grants. I urge and I vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 137. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 137 is passed. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of HB 1300.
House Bill 1300 by Representatives Carver and Doherty, also Senators Fields and Gardner, concerning local enforcement against human trafficking by allowing the adoption of local ordinances to prevent human trafficking-related offenses in illicit businesses represented as massage businesses.
Majority Leader Eskar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will step away from the podium and ignore that I came up here.
Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1300 in the Judiciary Committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This provided some clarification on the type of documents that licensed massage therapists must maintain on site. And then Department of Public Safety indicated that we needed to do a clarifying amendment with regards to process in doing a criminal background check. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The committee report passes. To the bill. Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I offer Amendment L003 and ask that it be displayed.
The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A member of Judiciary asked that we provide some clarifying language with regards to past convictions involving fraud, theft, and embezzlement to make sure that counties have the discretion to do the analysis under 24-5-101 to look at how old the conviction is, efforts to rehabilitate, that type of thing. So we were glad to provide that clarifying language. And then on the identification piece, it was pointed out to us that the identification language needed to be made consistent for massage therapists with the bill that passed last year. Ask for an aye vote.
Representative Doherty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yes, I also ask for an aye vote and in support of this amendment, as I believe it is. It helps with clarifying language and puts us into compliance with statutes that were recently passed. So I ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L003? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L003. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the bill, Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm really honored to be running this bill with Rep. Doherty. You know, this is an effort to provide our counties with some local enforcement authority to act in concert with our cities to address the increasing criminal activity of human trafficking. And we have worked extensively with stakeholders to craft this bill. Ask for an aye vote.
Representative Doherty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yes, I think this is a great bill. And what it does is it provides the least restrictive means to help with this problem. We heard great testimony. Proud to work on this bill, and I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Holtorf, proceed. Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the bill, and I appreciate the prime sponsors bringing this bill. My concern is I don't think this bill goes far enough. Human trafficking is an insidious endeavor. It affects the youngest of our population, preteens and teens, and young individuals, predominantly women. As a father of many daughters, I really have issue with the human trafficking pandemic that we have right now in this country, and the exploitation that is occurring of open borders that brings even more human trafficking in to our great country. So I would ask the bill sponsors to consider amendments that make this a stronger lift. I understand that now you can extrapolate what municipalities pass out to the county levels. So one of these enterprises can't just jump outside the city boundaries and continue to do their nefarious work. So I will be a yes on this bill, but Colorado needs to do more. Colorado needs to do more to protect those vulnerable people that get stuck in the human trafficking spiral, and many of them cannot get out of it.
Representative Pico.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise in support. I will grant that this bill is not a comprehensive attack on human trafficking, but it does focus on something that's very, very specific. In Colorado Springs, home rule city, we did pass some pretty good laws, some ordinances to crack down on this. I was a co-sponsor of that one. And what they did was they moved a few hundred feet to get outside into the county. So what this does is allow that jurisdictional control at the county level. It's a good bill. It didn't perhaps attract the whole thing, but it does take a good bite out of this crime. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of HB 1300 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. HB 1300 has passed. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of House Bill 1294.
House Bill 1294 by Representatives Michelson, Janae, and Young, also Senators Zenzinger and Gardner, concerning additional pathways to provide special education services to children with disabilities in charter schools.
Representative Michelson, Janae.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What an honor to serve with you today.
What an honor to serve with you.
I move House Bill 1294 and the Education Committee report.
To the committee report.
We have an amendment to our committee report. So if we could please, I move amendment L004 to the committee report and ask that it be displayed.
The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed.
So this was an amendment requested by the Department of Education, and it has to do with if the charter schools can't agree on an amendment, to the charter contract, the department has approved an alternative administrative unit to include the charter school, but if the charter school and its authorizing school district, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it was a technical fix. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L004? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L004 to the House Education Committee report. Is that correct? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. L004 has been passed to the committee report. Representative Michelson, Janae.
I ask for an aye on the committee report.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The committee report has been adopted. To the bill. Representative Michelson, Janae.
Thank you, members. This is actually a really exciting bill. And Mary is the weedy one here, and she will tell you all of the amazing details. But I will tell you in basic sense, for a lot of years, charter schools have been in a situation where they have been accused of not treating kids with special needs. This is an opportunity to really direct, with our charter schools, their interest in serving kids with special needs. It'll grant schools the ability, if they choose, to give students with special needs a higher weight in their enrollment process. It will enable charter schools to form collaboratives for the purpose of enhanced special ed services. And I'll turn it over to my co-prime, Rep. Young.
Representative Young.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill demonstrates the commitment and interest of some charter schools to participate fully in educating students with special education needs in their schools. What does this bill do? It permits charter school networks or collaboratives to pursue administrative unit status for special education purposes. It also permits district charter schools to join the Colorado Charter School Institute's administrative unit solely for special education purposes. This bill is not saying that all charter schools would become their own administrative unit. Rather, it is simply creating a pathway for qualified and committed groups of charter schools to try and pursue this option. I urge and I vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of HB 1294 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. HB 1294 passes. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the committee rise and report.
You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report.
The committee will come back to order. Mr. Shi will please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report as under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof and making the following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1280, 1294 as amended 1300 as amended passed on second reading and order engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 137, 141, 142 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Representative Lindsay. Thank you, Representative Lindsay. Members, you have heard the motion. There are no amendments at the desk. The question before us is the adoption of the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Shi will please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. For those participating remotely, Representative Williams, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Williams votes no. Representative Van Winkle, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Van Winkle votes no. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Representative Van Beber, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Van Beber votes no. Representative Hooten, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Hooten votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Woodrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Woodrow votes yes. Please close the machine. With 40 aye votes, 24 no votes, and 1 excuse, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. I believe that we may have to lay over the balance of the calendar because there are two things left. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that we lay over the balance. I move to lay over the balance of the calendar until tomorrow, March 29th.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over until Tuesday, March 29th. That brings us to announcements and introductions. Representative Herod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I just wanted to note something that I noticed when I walked in this morning, and that is all of your all's very dapper haircuts today. And so if you got a haircut over the weekend, please stand. Y'all look great. Representative Bradfield, Representative Duran, I see you back there. Representative Exum, Valdez, Kennedy. Y'all really like to look good for the start of session. We all should take a cue. Representative Carver, did you get a haircut as well? Representative Carver? No? Okay, all right. Well, I'm watching out for you guys. You look very nice today.
Representative Pico.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I appreciate that, but I have to point out I did not get a haircut. I got them all cut.
I've heard that before. Is it, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I don't get it, but that's fine. Representative Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tomorrow morning, Preacher Dan File will be in the basement again giving us another Bible study. So tomorrow morning, show up in the basement and get your soul fed and go ahead and have something to eat.
Thanks, Representative Pelton. I think I get it. I get it. I got the Wordle in 3, too. All right, any other announcements or introductions? See none. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the House stand in recess till later today so I can go do my Wordle.
Oh, I think we actually have, we actually have introduction of bills. So people can, you don't have to hang around, but we're going to do introduction of bills right now.
I take back my motion.
Mr. Schiebel, introduction of bills.
House Bill 1328 by Representative Tatone concerning modifications to the Colorado Loans for Increasing Main Street Business Economic Recovery Act.
House Bill 1328 will be assigned to the Committee on Business Affairs and Labor.
House Bill 1329 by Representative McCluskey, also Senator Hansen, concerning the provision for payment of the expenses of the executive, legislative, and judicial departments of the state of Colorado and of its agencies and institutions for and during the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2022, except as otherwise noted.
House Bill 1329 will be assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1330 by Representatives McCluskey and Ransom, also Senators Hansen and Rankin, concerning suspending the requirement for a 5-year appropriation for an act that causes a net increase in imprisonment.
House Bill 1330 will be assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1331 by Representatives Harrod and Ransom, also Senators Zenzinger and Rankin, concerning supplemental funding for facilities, schools, and in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
House Bill 1331 will be assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1332 by Representatives McCluskey and Harrod, also Senators Hansen and Rankin, concerning the Office of Economic Development and International Trade's permissible use of money transferred from the Economic Recovery and Relief Cash Fund to the Colorado Economic Development Fund use in rural Colorado.
House Bill 1332 will be assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1333 by Representatives Harrod and McCluskey, also Senators Zenzinger and Rankin, concerning an increase in the minimum wage for nursing facility employees and in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
House Bill 1333 will be assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1334 by Representative Harrod, also Senator Zenzinger, concerning the collection of an administrative fee from an agency that receives commodities through a food distribution program.
House Bill 1334 will be assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1335 by Representatives McCluskey and Ransom, also Senators Hansen and Rankin, concerning a transfer from the Revenue Loss Restoration Cash Fund to the Judicial Department Information Technology Cash Fund.
House Bill 1335 will be assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1336 by Representatives McCluskey and Ransom, also Senators Hansen and Zenzinger, concerning the streamlining of the processing of certain money collected by the Judicial Department.
House Bill 1336 will be assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1337 by Representatives Harrod and Ransom, also Senators Hansen and Rankin, concerning a requirement that the State Personnel Director quadrennially produce a report on compensation and in connection therewith modifying requirements for the compensation report, including reporting deadlines and making an appropriation.
I do want to point out that Mr. Gregorio is looking in. House Bill 1337, hi Mr. Gregorio. House Bill 1337 will be assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1338 by Representative Harrod and Senator Hansen, concerning modification of the manner in which specified motor vehicle related functions of the Department of Revenue are funded and in connection therewith making and reducing appropriations.
House Bill 1338 will be assigned to the Committee on Appropriations. We could just say 4 times a year. Maybe that's a... We should talk
House
to
Bill
whoever
1339
drafted
by
the title.
Representatives Harrod and McCluskey, also Senators Zenzinger and Rankin, concerning the Colorado Drives Vehicle Services account of the Highway Uses Tax Fund and in connection therewith merging the Licensing Services Cash Fund into the account and requiring account investment earnings to be credited to the account.
House Bill 1339 will be assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1340 by Representatives Harrod and McCluskey, also Senators Hansen and Zenzinger, concerning capital-related transfers of money.
House Bill 1340 will be assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1341 by Representatives Harrod and McCluskey, also Senators Zenzinger and Rankin, concerning measures to ensure that the Marijuana Tax Cash Fund is in balance.
House Bill 1341 will be assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1342 by Representatives Harrod and Ransom, also Senators Hansen and Rankin, concerning the requirement that interest and income derived from the deposit and investment of federal funds to the state received from the Federal Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund be credited to the State Emergency Reserve Cash Fund.
House Bill 1342 will be assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1343 by Representatives McCluskey and Ransom, also Senators Hansen and Rankin, concerning state revenue retained and spent under the authority conferred by the voter-approved revenue change referendum C.
House Bill 1343 will be assigned to the Committee on Appropriations. Thank you, Mr. Schiebel. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now I move the House stand in recess until later today.
Seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess until later today.